The whole topic of this webinar is regarding PSA Group's India strategy on how they're working on mobility, digital, and open innovation. This is part of the series for NIPP Mobility Challenge. It's an innovation challenge that we are conducting for startups. We have our corporate partners who have shared business use cases where they're open to working with startups and want to collaborate with them. I'll share the details regarding that mobility challenge in the chat itself, so that later you can see those details and apply, and accordingly reach out to us if you have any queries. So with me, I have Leo Radisson. He's the innovative business developer from PSA. He'll be speaking about Group PSA's strategy regarding startups and also their F2M brand, which is the mobility brand of PSA Group. We'll also be joined by Joel Verani, VP Distribution Strategy and Network Development of PSA, in shortly, and he'll also share his perspective on how they're building the network in India and opportunities in digital space, especially when it comes to engaging with the customers in digital era. So after the session from the speakers, we'll also have a Q&A. So you can just post your questions in the chat and we'll take it up later. Leo, over to you. You can start with the session.
All right. Thanks a lot, Shivam. So I hope everybody can hear us now. Apologize again for the technical issue. It looks like the server is facing some problem. So thanks for joining this webinar. Thanks for showing your interest for PSA. So I'll start to share my screen. Let me just do this. You're able to see the screen. So first, I will tell you a bit what is PSA Group, because you might not be aware of. And then we will focus on what we call the business lab, which is the entity basically that take care of the relation with startup, and then how Group PSA is engaging with startup. So let's start. So PSA is a global car manufacturer. It's a big group with an international presence. So as you can see, there was more than 74 billion revenue in 2019. It's a company that has more than 2 lakh employees worldwide, and with 3.5 million vehicles sold in 2019. There are 5 brands in the group. Some of them you might have heard. One is Peugeot. The other one is Citroën. That is the brand that we are launching in India. I will let Joel, if he's able to join, to present the Citroën brand. Then one is DS. One is Opel Vauxhall. And the last one is a mobility brand that we call Free2Move. So PSA Group is recognized among the world for the quality of its car. For example, the Peugeot 208 was recognized as the car of the year 2020. So why an OEM is looking and trying to make some partnership with startup? First, because today the ecosystem is huge and there are new challenges in the mobility, obviously. And this is a very good opportunity for you and for corporate to have some tie-up and to try to develop innovative solutions. So today, I just want to show you this stat. One startup created each week on automotive field, which is massive. And there is obviously plenty of opportunity to work on. As we are discussing today, the mobility is facing a radical shift. We are moving to, if we stay to the vehicle itself, to more and more connected vehicle, more and more autonomous vehicle, more and more shared vehicle, and more electric vehicle. So these 4 shifts are happening at the same time and are disrupting totally the industry like never before. And on the other hand, we have plenty of mobility services that you might be aware of that are booming all across the world. And obviously, India is also very concerned with these new services. So for an OEM to take this opportunity to remain a global leader, it has to widen its core of activity and to move more and more to mobility services, and also to be able to tie up with innovative players such as startup like you. So I'll explain a bit about the business lab. So internally, we have a team that is basically the junction between PSA Group and the startup ecosystem. That's what we call the business lab. So our role is to detect and seize opportunity with startup and to present it to the group so that we can tie up with some partnership. So this is the mission: detect, evaluate, and transform business opportunities with high stake for the group, and also outside of its automotive core business. So this is more on an exploratory domain. Today, these are the topics we are focusing. So obviously, AI is one, factory of the futures, smart city, sharing economy, autonomous and connected vehicle. We are also looking deeply into clean tech, obviously mobility with our new brand that is especially tackling this issue that's called Free to Move, and then digital and data analytics. So this is just a list to give you an idea, but obviously we are not restricted to this list, and this is for you to understand that you might be a startup that has no link with automobile, but we might have some use cases for you that you haven't imagined. So that's where the cooperation and this talk are very useful, so that you are able to understand the new challenges that are there, and you can understand if the service you are proposing can help us to build tomorrow mobility. So this is the representation of the business lab. So what you have to remain, it's that it's a worldwide entity with several representation. Myself, I'll take care with the relation with startup in India. So for you, you have to remember that it's a good opportunity because we are not only working with Indian startup for the local needs, but we are also working with Indian startup for the global needs. So it's a good opportunity to go abroad and to be to reach exposure like never before for a startup, for an Indian startup. Also, obviously, we are trying to push some innovation that is coming from different parts of the world in India also. So the reverse is possible with startup coming from another countries setting up some services in India. So the way we work with startup is basically we are very selective. We are very selective with the startup we want to work for. And we target mostly mature startup. We need to build a win-win partnership. So as long as the situation is clearly defined with a win-win partnership, we are trying to build some experimentation and work like a startup. Basically, we will work on a POC, on an MVP phase, with a fast pace and dedicated flow to work with startup to be on the same pace. And then once the startup is proven to be robust, the business model is robust, the startup is robust, and we want to deploy, then we will go to a normal process with the traditional supplying process. So that's it for me. I don't know if Joël joined. I'll go back to the meeting. So I think Joël is not there. Shivam, can you confirm?
Yeah. No, I think he's not visible in there.
Okay.
Check with him. We'll just take a quick break. We'll just check for the other speaker and get back.
Okay. Apologize. I'll try to reach him out. So Joel is trying to reach, but seems like the platform is having some issues still. So he will try to join as an attendee, but he will not be able to speak, right?
Okay.
So let me just share with you the few use cases that we have displayed so that we can discuss on it. Obviously, feel free to raise your question. I'll be happy to make them clearer and to help you understand what we expect from these use cases. So first one was regarding to the conviviality. So we want to play on conviviality on board. So what we are looking for is a disruptive idea that could play on enhancing the conviviality. The Citroën brand that we are launching in India. So you didn't get any presentation from Joël, but we are launching a brand of vehicle in India by the end of the year. that is called Citroën. So the Citroën brand is a more than 100 years old brand, and it has always been famous for comfort and security. So also it's a very like it's a family car usually in the state of mind. So that's why we would like innovative idea to play on conviviality on board, because today there are plenty of devices and people tend to be more and more isolated on their device themselves. So we would like to gamify a bit the interior of the car and try to find some solution in this way. Second one that we have is to play for the security. For us, it's a very big challenge. Obviously, you know that Indian roads are among the unsafe road on the world. So every innovative idea, again, that could be as an aftermarket here, could be very relevant for the Citroën group. So I'm just seeing Joel that could join. Okay, I'll move through the use cases by the time he finishes. Then we have the third use case that is basically to digitize our workshop. So we want to digitize our workshop and make it more easier. So I'll continue. So we want to digitize our workshop by giving some tool to the mechanician on an app where he could see all the relevant information and have micro learnings also, because since it will be a new brand in India. Yes, Joel. Okay, you have a gap of in the sound. Okay, so I'll continue. Apologize. So yeah, we want the mechanicians to be able to learn on the new topics on the new vehicle, since it's a new brand in India. So we want to help them facilitate the learnings. And the fourth use case that we have submit is we would like to have service information on the mobile app for the technicians, again, to be more handy in the workshop and not having to connect to the ERP. So that could be just a helpful tool for us. So these are a few use cases that we have in mind. Also, we are obviously open to ideas that could come out of the box, even if they are not in these topics. So feel free to raise your question on these use cases, and also feel free to reach us out if you have an idea that you think that could be relevant for us. Okay, so Shivam, I think we'll take the question because it looks like there is a still issue regarding the sound.
Sure, Leo. So I think there's one question from Jagati P from Clever Mind. So he's mentioning that there are a startup which is giving mobility solutions to corporates along with the cabs, which is software for basically the cabs. So will this kind of a service be relevant for PSA, or can they collaborate in some manner? Their solution is for corporates for their cabs. It's a software for cabs.
Okay. So here it depends on what you're looking for. If you if you're only a software provider, is it an aggregator? First, to me to understand, there are two ways here. Either our group can be a customer. Either we can explore possibility with our mobility brand. What if you are willing to build a network or to expand geographically speaking, that could be some stuff that we could look on. I'm not sure if I understand the question correctly, but I need to know a bit more about the service to answer this question.
Sure, I think we'll just wait if we get more details on that question. So I would request everyone, if you have any questions, please share that in the chat. I think some of you have selected that raise hand option. If you can just share those your queries and questions in the chat, we'll be able to take them up. Please just share in the chat. Yeah, so we have another question.
Yeah.
So it's regarding that is PSA looking forward to rent their automobiles and motorcycles. So since they have a rental service provider solution.
All right. So that's a good question. It depends if you speak about PSA as a global or a PSA in India with the brand Citroën. So for the case in India, basically for the beginning, it will be because we are focusing on the launch. It will be mainly sales for B2C, and then we can move if you have interesting mobility use cases or ID, we are open, but it's not on the first priority, to be honest. If we consider now PSA as a group, as a worldwide group, obviously we want some vehicle through basically our brand, which is free to move. So we have car sharing services. We have also a solution for fleet where we rent directly to the corporate. So it depends what is your target regarding the countries. And Oslo, I just need to precise that we don't have motorcycle. We used to have a Peugeot brand for a motorcycle, but now it has been taking over from another OEM. So we don't have a motorcycle two-wheelers anymore.
Sure. Leo, there's another question regarding that. Are you also looking for solutions in the vehicle infotainment space? Will
Yes,
that be relevant?
definitely.
And, yeah, and if you could also probably share, some of the ideas that you are looking at or you've identified where you would, want startups to collaborate when it comes to in-vehicle infotainment or entertainment.
Sure. So as I said, it can be among one of the use case that we shortlisted. Infotainment can be there for enhanced conviviality on board, but also infotainment. I mean, it depends again if you speak about content, if you speak about hardware. But to me, there's plenty of stuff to explore because, as we said, the vehicle is changing to a more and more connected car. So basically, it will be the continuation of our smart homes, for example. So integration with services like Alexa or a new resolution with touch screen. There are plenty of topics that we can explore. Again, we need to precise with what you have in mind, but definitely it's an area where we'll look for innovation.
Great. There are a couple of more questions. One is that are you looking for hardware solutions or software solution? Is there any filter or limit from that perspective?
So yeah, that's a good point. So basically, if we speak about hardware, it's always more difficult since we are a global OEM. We have some very high security standard, also high security, cyber security expectation. So hardware for a startup, it's always more difficult to push. But this is for the inbuilt hardware. So again, if we speak about aftermarket device, here it's much more easier to push some startup regarding hardware. So hardware is an option, and obviously software is something that we are looking at because it's today the added value of the car, the main added value of the car will reside more and more into software.
Right, perfect. There's another question from Sachin, who's the co-founder of Snap on Rent. So Sachin, to answer your question from my side, so regarding the right way to reach PSA for collaboration, you have two ways. One is you can apply for mobility challenge. There are some use cases which PSA has already shared. So you can apply for that and go through the evaluation process. Leo, if you could also, answer if there's any sort of a program that you're running for startups as well, or are you, looking to working with them based on use cases only? Can you just share some details?
Yeah, sure. So mainly here, the focus is obviously use cases, but if it doesn't fit in the use cases and you think it's still relevant, you can connect directly to me. You can ask Shivan to give you my details. I'll take care of your request.
Sure. So Sachin, you can reach out to us. I'll mention my email ID at the end. You can share the details in case you feel your solutions are, out of the perspective of that use case that PSA has shared as of now. Leo, we have another question. So it's regarding that. Would you be open to like if the solution is more like a plug and play option, or would you be open to working with the startup to build a completely new solution?
Again, it depends on the solution we are speaking about, but we work basically on both subjects. So many times, as I said in the beginning, the way we work is to try to work as a startup. So usually we are very open to customization. That's the one of the main advantages of working with a startup. So we build usually an MVP or a POC with a startup. That could happen very often, and then we try to fine-tune the settings to build something more and more resilient and more useful for the end customer. But also sometimes we look for a plug-and-play solution. For example, if you have a plug-and-play solution that is offering the same service level agreement as a traditional supplier in a software, but much more cheaper, we can use this service directly. I would say there's always a bit of fine-tuning regarding the interaction with the different sources of data, different integration, etc. But it's also an option. So it depends, to be honest, on the subject.
Perfect. Leo, another question regarding the solutions, or regarding the scale of the solutions that you're looking for. So one is that since these use cases that you have shared, are they relevant only for your Indian market, or in case the solutions are scalable, would you be looking to take them global as well? And
Yeah.
if yes, then what kind of compatibility or compliance would the startups need? What kind of filters that they need to go through if they have to scale with you globally as well?
All right. So obviously it is open for a global solution as well. So as I said in the presentation, the business lab here, we work in India with Indian startup, but it's not only for the Indian needs. It's for the global needs. So I think today the ecosystem in India is maturing more and more, and there's tremendous opportunity to make some good win-win partnership. So guys, definitely it's relevant. We can push some solution for the rest of Europe. And that's where the organization of the business lab helps, because we have also some part of the team in France, in the headquarters, but also in different regions of the world that could connect us directly to the relevant people so that we can expand the services. Regarding the scale and the requirement, I would say if it's dealing with customer data, of course, GDPR is one big topic that is mandatory to have. Cybersecurity is also very hot topics. So we will have a very strong requirement on these, but it will be the same for India. I mean, today we try to make no distinction between the level of all these features of cybersecurity, of personal data protection, at the same level as the group requirement. So we try to work a bit in advance, because it will come in India. Maybe all these regulations are not there today, but it will come soon. So it's better to be more in advance than taking like trying to cope after once it's too late with the regulation that comes in.
Got it. Leo, we'll pick up one last question.
Sure.
So this is regarding the collaboration that startups look for. So given the current scenario that everyone is facing, a lot of startups have the issue regarding one, regarding the scale itself, or how they'll manage their teams. And other is also that as you would understand that a lot of times when they have to work with corporates, the cycle is long and it takes time to
Sure.
one, finalize the project, and then also funding usually is at the end of the cycle.
Yeah.
So the question here is that in these times, would it be possible for PSA to probably support startups like the ones that you select to work with, would they probably get some support where they can either get some sort of a funding at the start, or they can be supported in some manner which can help them in providing the solutions that they have for you?
Okay. So usually PSA doesn't take any participation in startup directly. So what we do in Europe is that we participate in VC funding, and then they reach out directly to startup. Here in India, we are not developed such a partnership because we are still new on the market. But we usually don't take participation. We don't fund the startup directly. That's the first message. Second point is on a case to case, it can happen. It will depend. So we are not, we are still open on those, but the general trend is not to take participation. Why? Because first, we don't want the startup to be dependent on us. We want the startup to be able to have a viable product that is fitting the market they address. And also, we want the startup not to rely only on PSA use cases, but to be able to have some more customer in the future. So this is one reason. Regarding what we could bring to the startup, obviously, so there are several steps where we can help. The first case, I would say, when I see some startups, some of them lack a bit of market vision. Obviously, you cannot guess all the use cases that a big company faces. And today, as the frontier are blurring, today we are in an automotive sector, but we have many challenges like are close to the bank or close to the telco. So because the frontier are blurring, we might have some use cases that you have not think about, but that could be very relevant for the solution, the technical solution you propose. So this is one first help that we could bring is the market vision and the use cases vision for an OEM standpoint. Second is scalability. As we said, we try to work with on a collaboration, on a partnership with startup. So we try to build scale by scale. We start with the MVP and then we deploy. To give you some examples, some Indian startups are working with us now for a global need, and we are trying to scale it up. First, we started for a solution with Europe. Now we are expanding the solution to services in Africa, and we might have some solution for spare parts services. So basically, here, that's a good help where PSA can help the startup is to accelerate their international development and help them scaling.
Great, Leo. Thanks for that information. I think that'll be very helpful for all the startups. I think we'll end the session here. We've covered a lot of questions. So I would like to thank Leo. Leo, thank you so much. I think despite all the technical issues, we were able to pull this off, and
we have to deal with it. It's a special time, so thanks to you for hosting this meeting, Shivam, and thanks to NASCOM. To you, all the startup, it was a pleasure meeting you. I would have liked to meet you personally here in Chennai as it was planned, but as you know, the situation is quite overwhelming, so obviously we cannot proceed on that physical meeting. So I hope it was interactive enough. I hope I could have answered your question. And as we said, Shivam will give his credentials, and then you can reach out to him. He will connect the startup directly with me, and we can deep dive on your cases, cases by cases.
Right, Leo. So to everyone, thank you so much for joining in, and thanks for your patience. Despite all the technical issues, you were able to attended the whole session, and I have put down all the details in the chat, so you can send me a mail at shivam@nascom.in, and you can check our website also for the use cases that PSA and other corporates have given, and you can apply for the mobility challenge. Thank you so much. We have a couple of more webinars coming up tomorrow and day after, so we'll be sending you details over the mail itself. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.